Well, good evening. Appreciate all of y'all coming out tonight and adhering to our safety precautions for the COVID. So appreciate everybody using the hand sanitizer and checking in case we need to track you down. Hopefully we won't. But we try to sit out plenty of chairs we can spread out, so if you don't like where you're sitting, you want to move around, feel free to. For those of you maybe that's not been to this facility before, if you walk out the double doors and to the right or the restrooms, so anytime tonight this is going to be very laid back and casual, so if you need to get up and go to the restroom or something, feel free to. Won't be any problem at all. But my name's Shannon Whitfield. I'm the sole commissioner here in Walker County. This is Robert Wardlaw to my right. He is our Economic and Community Development Director. And we wanted to come to you tonight as we had promised back in the spring, I guess it was. There was a planning and zoning meeting that some of y'all may have went to that talked about some potential apartment developments across from Ridgeland High School. Many of y'all expressed concerns about traffic on Happy Valley Road, and we listened to those concerns. We took those concerns very seriously, and so when those recommendations come to the commissioners meeting, as we committed, we tabled those until we could get more information and validate what y'all's concerns were. There was an engineering firm that did do a traffic study. A couple of the pages that we handed out to you tonight is from that study, and it validates your concern. There is an existing traffic problem on Happy Valley Road. And this report here shows that on 8 a.m. from 7 a.m. to 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. down Highway 2 there at the red light at Happy Valley Road, there's 1,050 cars that pass through that red light in 1 hour. And then in the PM, from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., the traffic study shows 990 cars per hour. And this is actual data that was collected by GDOT. It references that on there. So you can see that these were not just numbers they pulled out of the air. These are not estimates. These are actual numbers that GDOT published. On the second page of your handout, you've got the data that shows once those vehicles come through that red light on Highway 2 at Happy Valley, which direction they were going. You can see there were 568 in the morning that went east on Highway 2, but there were 51 that turned toward Ridgeland. And then in the afternoon, you can see there was 470 that come eastbound, with 88 turning back south towards Ridgeland High School. So that gives you a pretty good diagram. I won't read every one of those, but y'all can see the traffic movement and turning there. So I thought this was very good information. I wanted y'all to have a copy of this. We'll also put this up on our website. So thank you all for being here. It's important for y'all to be involved. We want to present some information to you, and then we want to hear from y'all. And so everybody can hear y'all, and we're not passing a microphone around. You know, a lot of times in a setting like this, you just take and pass a microphone around. But due to COVID, we don't want to do that. So everyone can hear you. We'd ask you just to come up to the podium where you can speak, where you're not having to touch anything. So everybody can hear you. So we ask you if you would do that. So before we get started, I turn it over to Robert. One of the things that we always like to do in our public meetings, we always like to open and begin in prayer. We also like to pledge the American flag. Many of y'all have served in our military. Many have paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country. And it's a great freedom that we have to be able to come here and assemble like this. And I think a lot of times we take that for granted. So we always like to reflect on that and be thankful for the country that we live in. We have elections that are underway, and so we want to make sure that we pray for our elections and our country and our leadership. So if y'all bow with me, I'll open with some prayer. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we just come to you today, Lord, and just thank you for this great week and this wonderful weather that you've provided to us. Lord, just thank you for Walker County and what a blessing it is to live here, to serve here, and to raise our families, and just an awesome community and just wonderful people. Lord, we just pray for our country, our nation. Lord, we just pray for our military, and we ask that you keep a hedge of protection around them, our leadership, our president, our Congress, and Lord, we just ask that they will turn to you for their guidance as they lead our country. Lord, as we have these elections coming up here, early voting has started, and election for our general election in November, Lord, we just pray that people will seek your will for our election. Lord, it's just an honor and a privilege to live in a country that we can have open elections without fear, and we can all go to the ballot box and vote without fear of something happening to us. Lord, we just thank you for the ones that are here tonight. We just pray for those that wanted to be here or those that may be on their way. Lord, this is our community coming together to talk about concerns that we all have. Lord, we just pray that everything that is said and done here tonight would honor and glorify you. Lord, we just ask for your continued hand on our county. And Lord, just be with us as we continue on this journey. In your name we pray. Amen. You'll stand with me and we'll pledge the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I'm going to step over to the side of the computer and I'm going to ask Robert to come up and he's going to share with you from Economic and Community Development.
Thanks, Sharon. I'm going to try to do this without this microphone so I can get up here with you and talk, if that's okay. If you can't hear me, just let me know. Is this okay? Good? I wanted to just take a minute and just kind of lay out a vision of this entire quadrant. I'm labeling these things as quadrants of the Hutchinson estate.
You can use the microphone, please.
Yes, sir. I wanted to talk about the ideas of this entire Hutchinson estate and not just, we're talking about the apartments, but I want to go ahead while everyone took the time to come here and talk about, I'm labeling them the quadrants of that estate. If you'll bear with me on that, I've had to do that because there's interest in all parts of the estate. So when I refer to the northwest quadrant, picture the north side of Highway 2 on the left as you're headed to Rossville. That's the northwest. The northeast is where the church is. The southeast being the subject of the apartment complex. And then the southwest is where Ridgeland High School and the dairy barn is. Is that okay? I'm going to refer to them like that. It's about the only way I've figured out how to do it. So we know that the entire estate is for sale and being actively marketed for commercial use. And I'll just say me. I'll just own it for myself of what I want to see, and I hope you will agree that we don't have all retail there. We need housing, and we need the right kind of blend and mix of housing. This is something in the Rossville area that we've been wanting for a long time. And if you were at planning last week, or you heard about it, then the northwest quadrant, that developer has proposed a housing that is up to, I think, 400 units. That housing is an average of $225,000 per house. A low end, I think, of $215,000 and a high end of $275,000, but most all of them be $225,000. Now, to a lot of people, that's going to be out of their price range. And it's gonna take them a while, I'm sure. I bet it'll take them 4 or 5 years to complete that. But what we need on the north end, in my opinion, we need housing at that range, that 225. Ideally, I think we're young professionals that may live in Chattanooga now that would want to move here and have a place where they can live and prosper and begin raising a family. We don't have that now. So as a result of not having that on the north end, what we have is the services provided through property taxes are on purely 100% the burden of those of us that own property in Walker County now. We can't raise property taxes. The burden is already great enough. So there's 2 ways for us to address that. Number 1 is to have more people pay property taxes. And number 2 is to enhance the revenue stream through sales tax, which is, I think we'll all agree, is much more palatable. At least it is for me. I'd much rather pay sales tax than property tax any day. So the idea is to help. We don't own the Hutchinson estate. The county doesn't. So we, as citizens, we don't own that. It's privately owned. The estate is for sale. They're going to do something there. So there's not a question about, well, we want to leave it just like it is. Well, that's not available as an option. So what we're doing is trying to work with them to grow, but to grow smart and to meet the needs of the community up there. And I'm telling you guys, until Rossville is fully healthy, Walker County we cannot be everything that we could be without Rossville, Georgia. That's just a mathematical fact. And we've been waiting for an opportunity like this. And I think it's pretty exciting. The PUD, that acronym PUD that was proposed and recommended, it was accepted unanimously by the Planning Commission. It still has to go to the commissioner. That is a planned urban development. So, yes.
What is it zoned now?
Okay, it's zoned over there as commercial and residential.
It's agricultural and commercial.
Ag, the northwest is ag and commercial.
Okay, the agriculture is behind the commercial on there.
Yes, sir. And I'm going to talk about that too, what they're planning to do. All right, so we went and asked for examples when we found out what they wanted to do there. We asked the developers, give us some examples that you're already doing where this has happened before. And there were several in Chattanooga. And Shannon and I went up there. We have this. We like to put our eyeballs on things, not just hear what people say. I want to go see things that they talk about. I'm just learn better that way. And we said, okay, this is good. $225,000 housing. I like that. We should all like that. And as I view it, this is everything that we would all want. Not so expensive like when you've already got the super high-end stuff on the mountain with the Macklemore. If you pay attention to the sales up there, I mean, it's through the roof, but normal people like us, or most of us, people aren't going to go up there and start a family at Macklemore. I mean, those lots are selling for $500,000. I mean, it's crazy. But it's lovely for all of us because they're paying huge property taxes up there because they want to. And God bless them. If they've earned enough money to go move up there, that's fantastic. But I'm not talking about the super wealthy here. I'm talking about regular working people and attracting young professional people into Walker County. So that northwest, if it gets approved, which it'll go to Shannon and some subsequent commissioner meeting. So far, he has not gone against any recommendation the planning commission has made in his time over there, so I don't anticipate that he's planning to turn that down. At least I hope he does. So let's go across the street from that development northeast. There's not.
Who's developing? Do we have a name?
Ben Hageman is the man's name. So if we go across the street, that's where the church is. To my knowledge, I don't know of anything that anyone wants to do there. They could, but the church is rolling right along there as far as I know. I don't have anything to report on that quadrant because I haven't heard of anybody wanting to do anything there. So,
Excuse me, one of those examples you went to see, Ridgeland went to see that was in development, just in neighborhood.
I'll send that. I'll give that to Joe or let him put it online. I don't have memorized the places, but I will share those so you two can go see them. They're just
Share
in.
her question. Share her question with her.
Okay, the question was, what are the addresses of those places that we went to see? And I'll get with Joe and we'll put them on the Facebook page so everybody can see that and you two can go see the development through the same company. So on let's go to south and west, where Ridgeland is now and the dairy barn. All right, that one doesn't have any kind of official, no one has come forward to say what they want to do there. What I would hope would happen there, you're going to have mid-range single-family dwellings in the northwest. We're going to talk about the apartment complex for southeast across the street from Ridgeland. We'll talk about that. That will be perfectly targeted towards working people that can't afford maybe to go into a full-out single-family dwelling, but they'll have a place.
Just low income.
No, sir, it's not low income.
Well, the last quoted price was in the 600 to 900 range.
That's right.
Complex, that's low income.
Okay.
Because a 3-bedroom is gonna be $900.
That's right.
And you can house up to 3 people. Technically, you can. I mean, I know we're kind of code restrictions, but you can
Right.
house 3 people per room, so you can have 9 people in a 3-bedroom.
Okay. Could you all hear that?
That's
It's-
the amount of people.
that it is, she's saying that is low-income housing at 650, 760, and 870, I think, is the 3-bedroom. So that's just a matter of, what I keep hearing is, don't let that Section 8 housing in here, and it's not Section 8. Let me just say that.
It's still the same, low income and Section 8 are merely stepbrothers at this point. They're the
Okay.
same thing. And where will these children go to school at? Nothing, I see our superintendent is here. Our school systems, where are we gonna send those children? All these families, you want them to come in, they're not
Yes.
even offering them proper education at these schools.
Okay, I mean, that would be something that I would let Damon address when the time is right.
Can our schools handle these?
I would think that if everything is fully successful, I would imagine the school can't handle. We would hope that growth, if it's smart growth, results in growth in the school system as well. That's what happens in every poor county, and I mean that I'm a Walker County person since the 1800s, so I mean this with love, but we are a poor county. And every time a poor county becomes a medium-income county, growing pains occur. There is absolutely no denying that. I'm not going to try to say, oh no, everything's set up ready. There's no way it can be set up and ready because we haven't had the growth yet. It's impossible. there is a plan. I'm not gonna address the schools. Superintendent Raines is right here. If he wants to, I don't want to be disrespectful and start talking for the school system. But I can tell you that the state and the school system have an incredible relationship, and the state wants growth just like we do.
I mean, I think we want growth too, and I'm speaking on my own behalf. I would rather see higher income homes expand the neighborhood that way, opposed to putting a 300-unit complex. I think that we're open to, yes, build nice homes, build
Yeah.
nice housings, but we can't take on 300 units and multiply that times 3 on the amount of people that are against it.
I think it's 150
I mean, you're
units.
looking at an excessive amount of people. We already have had deaths. We've had a death from our school, front office. Her husband died. We've had so many accidents there. We're not opposed to expanding it, building nice homes, building, bringing the housing in, nice rentals that people will hire in rentals. But, I think, speaking for myself, I'm opposed to the apartment complex,
Okay.
not housing, not building a
I respect
complex.
that. I understand
We
that.
opposed that before, we started
Right.
a petition, and we set that in a planning commission table.
Yes.
Did they rezone that? Did they rezone that to take the?
No, sir, it was tabled
Yes.
until the traffic study could be done. And that's why the commissioner invited everyone to come here tonight to give the results and feedback to what was tabled back then.
But the traffic study you're referring to wasn't even when I spoke and collected signatures for the petition, our main concern and what we had emailed, I personally, you made the comment, y'all like to see the problem, you like to, okay.
Yes.
I invited Commissioner Whitfield, several others did, come to our neighborhood, come sit on Overbrook, 7 a.m., watch. This traffic
Doesn't have nothing to
study
do with
has
the
nothing to
traffic.
do with Happy Valley Road. It is, you cannot go down our Overbrook Drive when school starts and when it ends without getting almost hit by a car.
Yeah.
But that's not,
These turn around people are running.
they're coming, you're to avoid that intersection, so they're not even counted for in the intersection in the study.
Let me interject just a moment. I know y'all got a lot of questions. If y'all would, just bear with us a few minutes. Let Robert finish going through the things that he has, and we'll be more than happy to address any additional questions. But some of these things that y'all were bringing concerns for, we want to talk to you about some solutions for those things. So the concerns you have are very valid, but we want to talk through. So just give us just a few more minutes, and then we'll open up the floor, please.
Okay, when you think about the southwest, the dairy barn area, I'm telling you that no one has come forward to present this. This again, this part is opinion, okay? The other two are fact-based. This is just an opinion. If we could attract their, let's just say, retirement type housing, an upscale retirement type community there, then you've got all three types of housing except for, and I'm not at all going to dispute if you want to call this apartment low-income housing. I normally think about Section 8 stuff, so I'll just give to that. If you want to call that low-income, okay. But everyone, the entire community gets the opportunity to be served if we could attract a retirement-type complex at the dairy park. And in the fronts of these properties, then we have commercial that comes. Whenever I'm out trying to get nice restaurants to come here and retail, grocery stores where you're not having to go anywhere to go grocery shopping from this part of the county, every time they say, Robert, we want to come there, but you're going to have to show me rooftops. It's just the economic reality of developers. It's just the truth. I mean, I'm not making that up. They say, we love you guys, we want to come there, but you don't have an interstate. You're going to have to show me rooftops. All right? And of course, I understand that. And I think everyone here would understand that they want to see rooftops and have the type of consumers that can buy their goods. And the way we get those kind of consumers is to have housing that attracts people that have good jobs. And so the Northwest, the part that fronts Happy Valley, all of that is carved out for future commercial. So the houses aren't going to be up on Happy Valley. They're set back in the back with a big swath for commercial development. And I know that the developer has already reached out to a couple of supermarkets, and they're saying, hey, love you guys. Show me that you're actually going to fund this and actually make the development happen, and then we'll come. But that's how we create sales tax revenue that doesn't result in property taxes. And I'm just talking pure math, and I know you're talking about other things as well, and I'm very sensitive to that about.
We're talking math too.
Yeah, it is all of our money, no doubt, that pay property taxes. So if you think about if we had an upscale retirement type community developed in the dairy side, that's what I would hope we would be able to attract and have a true balanced mixed use for this development versus us kind of staying completely out of it, and that a state can do anything that it's zoned for. I don't want just anything there, right? I mean, I know we agree with that. We don't want that to just run wild over there. It needs to be, I can't make it happen, but we can influence it to happen the way that most of us want it to be. And I have.
So what's the plan for the traffic? What resolution?
Okay.
If you have that many buildings, you have that many buildings coming in and housing, how are you rerouting the traffic to make the intersection better?
Shannon's going to share what GDOT recommended to us and the traffic engineers. He's going to share what they recommended, but I'm going to tell you now, it's a temporary fix. It makes sense. I agree with it, so don't misunderstand me like I'm saying it won't work. The temporary fix works, but the reality, my friends, if this development happens like we think it can, this one short term is not going to be enough. I mean, you're going to have to deal with this traffic as leadership. We're going to have to evolve with this kind of a growth. But you go anywhere, any community in which there's ever been growth, this scene plays out everywhere in the early stages. People are concerned, people get afraid, it's change, and then the politicians that get involved say, oh, I better just not do anything, and what they do is just try to hang on, and then they leave, and nothing ever gets done. And I want us to be smart and hope that I hope we can do it together, and I hope you like at least parts of these ideas. And then when you hear the not temporary, it's the first step solution to traffic. I shouldn't say temporary. It's the first step of what will be an evolution there. Because this has the chance to turn into a pretty significant major type intersection with a lot of commerce and a lot of money flowing through there that we desperately need, but we want to be smart. And I'll tell you one thing that Shannon and I have shared this same. We've been working together for 3.5 years. One thing we promised, I guess, to each other is that we wouldn't be out photo hounds waiting for photo ops by giving away tax dollars to get that big fancy picture that says, look at what they did. And really, when these politicians do that, you know what the truth is? What they're doing is giving our money away to make it look like they brought something good. And we stuck by that. And then none of these developments have asked us for one single thing. You know why? Because we tell them all up front, this county is not in a financial position to give them incentives. Now, once the residential part is done and the commercial starts talking about coming in, I'm open to incentives to attract big Chick-fil-A's and supermarkets and things like that. Sure, because as a community, then that's how you use incentives, not on developments like this. We shouldn't be giving tax dollars to that. These are private individuals. Yes, sir.
Robert, all you know, talked about tonight, the development and all that. I think, you know, we at Mission Glen, my wife and I have been in there for 34 years. We've seen development happen. You know, we've had a business come in that works on lawn care. They couldn't build an entrance off the road. They had to come into our entrance and come in off of that. They're developing another section into our subdivision, coming into that. I don't know what it's going to be, but they're tearing up the road. We've got our road has never been fixed. Overbrook has never been repaved. I mean, and since the subdivision has been there, and we were there pretty close to after it opened. All that you're suggesting here, I don't think any of that, and I'll speak for myself, development is good. You know, I want Walker County to succeed also. We're not complaining about the housing or the senior, but I'd ask you and I'd ask Mr. Whitfield, if you lived in Mission Glen where we do, and you've paid taxes in that property for 34 years and you've got an investment in Walker County, would you want a chance of your property values going down? If you lived in that subdivision, would you want that apartment complex approved right in your back door, a 3-story apartment building that is not there right now, that's not only going to add vehicle traffic, but chances are it's going to add trouble to our neighborhood.
Yeah.
And whether you want to agree with that or not, that is low-income housing. You're going to have people moving in. You're going to have them moving out. You know, we've had issues in our subdivision with people breaking in our automobiles in our parking lot. And I've got to be honest with you on another thing. I'm going to voice this. We're talking about the speed. My wife walks the neighborhood every day. And she has to wait till after a certain time to walk over because she's afraid of getting hit. I don't know how many times I've seen a Walker County sheriff patrolling through our neighborhood any time of day. Or sitting there, maybe doing radar or whatever. But, I mean, our neighborhood should be private. Why have y'all allowed these businesses to come in there using our entrance into our subdivision and not making them build an entrance into their business off of Battlefield Parkway and not tearing up our subdivision and adding all that traffic to our entryway off of Battlefield Parkway? That's my say tonight.
I second what you just said.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about Overbrook Drive there for a moment. And I've been over and looked at this a couple of different times recently, and it is in bad shape. Like I say, it appears to be the original asphalt that was put in there. Here's part of the problem that we're running into as we pave roads. We get just about as many complaints. This may sound weird, but we get just about as many complaints after we pave a road. I get complaints that it's too black. Seriously. When we paved Nicky Jack Road, the biggest complaint I got is the asphalt's too black. Why could y'all not have used a different color? True. Going up the mountain, it's even worse than it was before you paved it. The second most common complaint when you pave a road. And this happened on Monk Hollow, this happened on Peavine, this happened on, I can't think of the other one right off, but several of these roads that are heavy travel, when you pave it, what happens? The speed goes up. Because it is a smooth road and people go even faster. So one of the questions that I wanted to ask tonight is, when we pave Overbrook, how do you feel about us installing speed humps?
We've asked that for years. and we
Okay.
don't know.
But let's back up. She made a question or made a comment here. She's been asking for that for years. A lot of these problems that we have in our county have been going on for decades. We just got here, folks, 2017. So we're working forward, we're making progress. So the question is, by show of hands, how many of you think that speed humps would be a good solution once the road's repaired?
Just don't put it over a water main, because we can't get our water pressure down enough.
Right.
Okay, all right. So if you put your hands down, how many think it's a horrible idea? Speed bumps.
We're in there every day driving over those speed bumps.
I'm in limbo, I don't know where I'm going to go.
Yeah, so you're right, it's bittersweet. Speed humps are bittersweet. It will slow the traffic down, because if we go in there and pave that road, if we pave Overbrook 2021, you think it's bad today, you just wait. I'm telling you, we've lived it, we've experienced it. You talk about the sheriff's office, and I'm not trying to speak for them, but one of the frustrations that all law enforcement has in the state of Georgia is they're not legally able by state law to run radar on every road. And I would say Overbrook is probably one they can't run radar on. State Patrol can run radar on any road, but your county sheriff's office is limited to a very, very short list of roads that they can run radar. Now, they can go in there and, pull people over, tell them to slow down, and talk to them, these type of things. But actually, as far as writing tickets and, finding them, it's against the state law. They can't do that. So I know that's frustrating. So if that's not an option, some type of speed hump or device is an option. There are different types that can be put in. I mean, you can do them out of asphalt. You can buy the rubber. I see a lot of them in Atlanta where it's the rubber mount, but they're long. Where you hit it going fast. I mean, that thing's probably 4 or 5 foot long or wide, and you really know you've hit something. So it does have an impact. Also, and I'll take y'all's questions here in just a minute. Also, with the subdivision development up on the northwest quadrant we talked about, it's going to be 400 plus homes. That immediately has made the traffic problem in Overbrook worse. Immediately. If nothing else happens, the traffic problem that you're talking about in Overbrook just got worse. Because what's going to happen is you're bringing families into those $225,000, $250,000 homes that there's going to be on those roads going to work, going to school. Your traffic problem just got worse. So, like Robert says, we don't have full control of this because we don't own any of this property. A lot of times people come to us and say, we want less government. Until there's a problem, then they want more government. So it's trying to find that balance. And so since we don't own the property, like Robert says, we can't control who the estate sells the property to.
Who controls the zoning?
The zoning right now is mixed. So the corner on the southeast corner is zoned commercial right now. If all of this around there builds up and gets bigger, and you put a grocery store there, that's 5,000 more cars a day. 5,000 more cars it's going to turn down Happy Valley Road because of a grocery store. If you put in this proposed 156 unit apartment complex, that creates an additional round number 1,500 cars. In our conversations with GDOT, we sent them a letter and requested to see if we could get another road, get curb access to Highway 2. it wasn't a no, but there's so many hurdles and so many things that have to take place. Number one, it has to be a county road that services multiple other roads. So what we were asking was, if we came, let's just call it behind Tad's for lack of terms, and we put in another county road, and we looped it back around in front of the high school. So instead of people going through Overbrook, if we put in another road and brought it in and come out and put a traffic light, that did not meet the requirements, because it just goes into one other road. It doesn't hit all the buttons and all the triggers, because Highway 2, the project was done with federal dollars, and they paid for those right-of-ways, and so it's very expensive and it's very limited. They call it limited access to go in and add another road. So when talking with GDOT, we said, what do we do? We've got a traffic problem now. If nothing else happens, if somebody comes in there and sweeps in and buys all that property and they put cattle out there, we still got a problem. We said, how do we address this problem? He said, well, one option that's most common is to put a red light in. Put a red light in at the busiest entrance exit of Ridgeland High School. Make that an intersection, and any development that would go across the street, regardless of what it is, would need to come in and out with that red light. He said, in most cases, especially around schools and busy intersections, he said, and they've got data to back this up, he said you would have to look at that individual situation, have the engineering done, and make sure everything fits and lines up. But he says, what they find to be the safest of moving large volumes of traffic is a roundabout. And he said they've done many of them in front of schools, and he says they're very successful because it keeps the flow moving at a slow pace instead of people running through red lights and getting T-boned. Also, when we start talking about a red light, you're looking at about a $700,000 to $800,000 project to put a red light in there at Ridgeland, have the engineers figure out what makes the most sense. Roundabouts, sometimes you're removing utilities, you're making wider and everything, so they say you might as well figure about the same price range from a budget perspective, but you're going to be about $750,000 in that range. The other concern, as all of this grows and expands, is down at the other end, in front of Rossville Middle School. There's just as much congestion there, and a lot of those people coming out of y'all's subdivision, that's where they're trying to get to. And so we want to look at all of that and have a comprehensive plan drawn out by a traffic engineering firm that would also look at that may also, their recommendation may come back with a roundabout there as well. And it also may come back and tell us we need more lanes. But where we are, if we sit back and do nothing, you think you're aggravated this school year? Another school year or two, you're really, really, really going to be aggravated. Because these developments, they look at Northwest Georgia as prime development property. Those properties are going to sell. And there's hundreds of acres through there that's owned by the Hutchison Farm. So we have the ability, we are communicating that we can be engaged, or we're just going to look up one day and here they are. And there's not been any smart growth or smart planning. And in any well-balanced community, you need to have that balance, that you're not heavy one way or the other. You need to be able for people to come in affordable housing and be able to move up. And you need to be able to have people that can move into retirement villages and things. Because you hear people say, well, a lot of times, people move off, they don't come back. Well, they can't afford to live here, they can't find jobs and these different things. And these are all the growing pains that we all deal with. And if we don't help try to influence this and get things working in the right direction in concert, what about if this all sells and it's all apartments? It could happen. It could happen. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing about zoning.
You're in charge of it, right?
To a point. You can't discriminate. Okay? You cannot discriminate. And so unless there is some reason that you can validate and legally stand on, you could be sued. When I was on the city council in Chickamauga, it happened. In the city limits. When I was in the city council in Chickamauga, it happened. Because there was a department development that was looking at coming in, and city council didn't want to do it. Didn't go too well. Because you cannot discriminate. And so when you have intersection property and you have developers that come in, you just can't say no because you just won't say no. Just because it doesn't fit what you individually want or me individually as a commissioner. I mean, I wish it was all $250,000 houses. I mean, that makes life great to a point. But then where are your people going to start? Your people that's getting out of school, getting out of college, the person that just got that teaching job, that wants to move to the area, that's going to start out making $40,000, $50,000 a year, that wants to rent, see if they're going to like the job or going to stay. It's difficult now for our school system to attract teachers a lot of times because of housing issues. You know, right now, in all of the Chattanooga multi-listing area, there's about 3,000 realtors. There's not even 3,000 homes on the market for sale if you include all of Chattanooga and Ottawa and all of North Georgia.
1,250.
There's 1,200, thank you. There's 1,250 homes roughly available at all price ranges.
1,251.
1,251. So there is a shortage of homes. And so it's a great opportunity, as Robert's talking about. It's kind of a perfect storm to try to build. People talk about Rossville, the city of Rossville, all the time. When's something going to happen there? When's something going to be revitalized? Most of that is business district. They're saying the numbers don't work. There's not enough residents. There's not enough housing. It cannot support it because in downtown Rossville, most of the housing that's there are more of a mill-style type, 1,000 square foot homes. It can't support the retail growth. And so until we get more residential and get that mixture, you're not going to see that retail growth. But fortunately, the different developers that are looking at all this, they are agreeable to a mixed development to have retail and rooftops behind that. They don't have to do that. So, yes, ma'am. You talking about the subdivision development? Yeah, okay, good question. The question is there restrictions or requirements? Yes, if someone develops a subdivision, there is requirements already on the books in Walker County of how that road has to be built, how wide it has to be, how it has to be compacted, how much gravel, how much asphalt, curbing, guttering, stormwater, all of those things are in that specification. So they have to pull a permit so local government knows what's going on. And then it's inspected along those processes to make sure that the thicknesses and the grades and elevations and all meet those standards. Because eventually, they're going to want to turn those roads over to the county. And when the county accepts those, they need to be up to the modern standards. So yes, the subdivision that's going in or any other development that would want the roads eventually taken over by the local government would have to meet those standards. Yes, sir.
So for the apartments that you're talking about, all the buildings on that side of the road, y'all control the county, control the zoning for the type of structures that you'd like to see built in those areas. So it's R1, R2, or R4, S1, or C1. So y'all control that. So my question is, when
Yes, there is a process that has to be followed. There's a specification of so many feet bordering that property where notices have to be sent certified mail. Signs have to be posted. There has to be a public meeting, has to be advertised. People can make public comment, people can make written comment. And so that meeting took place earlier in the spring. So after that meeting,
I never got noticed.
several of y'all contacted me and said, hey,
Like 6 people in our neighborhood got noticed.
Yeah.
Because I think within 300 feet.
It was-
is it 300 feet? Yeah, the requirement is within 300 feet of the adjoining properties, send those notifications.
It was only, what's your road? It was only.
Dalewood,
I was on
yeah.
Overbrook and it only went 70 feet down. I'm at the end of
I backed
Overbrook.
up and had it on the road, I mean, that's his farm, and we.
So, once several of y'all contacted me, I made the commitment, okay, we're gonna table this until we figure out what the solutions are with the traffic, make sure we understand what's going on. So it's been tabled, but I also committed that once we got the traffic study, we would have this meeting. And we tried to put it here in the center of the county to make it convenient for you, so you could come and hear and see and get some pages of the report to see, yes, there is a traffic problem. Yeah, Paul?
Do you recall at any time, or have you determined that several years ago, the MPO and Georgia DOT had worked together to build a road all the way to the interstate? And there were several options that they were talking about, like 193, the one going through Happy Valley and that way. Do you recall those things? And they have been brought forth. I don't know where they are today.
Are you talking about before they put Highway 2 in, there was development plans?
No, after Highway 2.
I'm sorry, say again?
After Highway 2.
After Highway 2 was put in,
Yes.
there was
I
just,
went taking like 27 to 24.
Yes.
Yeah, there was-
Yeah, but
Oh, yeah.
the idea was to come down this way further.
yeah, there's been some vision plans in the past I've heard of that they're talking about basically taking what's called the Wilson Road corridor and
Right.
going out that way all the way to 24. There's been dreams that was about drilling through Lookout Mountain and connecting to I-59 with a tunnel. I mean, those things, yeah, some of that's been around 20 plus years or so.
But hasn't that been a priority at the Chattanooga and the Georgia DOT together, and even been subject to funding from 10 years ago?
Yeah, I would say it was probably about 10 or 12 years ago when they were looking at a regional T-Splosh.
Absolutely.
They talked about that connector from Highway 2 up the Wilson Road corridor to 24 being one of those projects. And so when the regional T-Splosh failed, that I don't think anything's come of that project since.
Wouldn't that be something to bring up again? Because that would put a 4-lane from Coran all the way to the interstate, and that would alleviate the school and all through that area for the traffic. And why not plan it today if it's 5 years from now, or 10?
I think you'd have more traffic.
I realize that, but that's what you're putting it out there for the more traffic. You can build houses, build apartments and things.
Yes,
I take it from this meeting, the whole agenda is just to put those apartment buildings in. You don't have any plans for residential now. You just want to put those apartments in.
that's not true. The Planning Commission took up an approval that they did last Thursday for the subdivision on the northwestern corner that Robert spoke of earlier.
Nobody was notified of that. Nobody was told that. We
was-
were under the impression that it was tabled until.
This is a different project. The subdivision project has just come up within, say, the last 90 days.
But the whole thing is, you put those apartment buildings in there, it's going to increase our crime in the area, in Mission Glen. It's going to lower our property values.
The thing that I'm concerned about with crime right now and lowering property values is the homeless population that's being pushed across our border.
You get the low-income housing, you know what you're going to have. It's brutal.
So, yes, sir.
Shannon, I've always been an advocate of economic development all the way up to the, as everybody here realizes, economic development stops at Catoosa County, Walker County line. And the reality of it is, because Georgia DOT is not gonna allow anybody to just put individual driveways all the way up to A, they have to build these limited access, kind of like what's happening with Mission Land right now. You know, they gotta have, the state's gotta grant that access, and, you know, nobody's willing to spend that kind of money to do it. So we're stuck, with no kind of development up through that. So, and I understand what everybody is here for, and what everybody's upset about, but I'm the school resource officer at Ridgeland High School. Let me tell you something. This study is not altogether correct in that this study was done in November, 2 days in November, try August.
Yeah, yeah.
It's gonna be twice.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be worse. And two, like they said earlier, it doesn't address what's cutting through over.
Yeah, but the problem present that we have, the amount of traffic dump that we have right there from the traffic light to the back along Ridgeland High School is so short. What's happening is that's backing up. That's the reason our teacher at Ridgeland High School doesn't got this. It backed up. There was braking. They stopped right in the middle of the intersection, and the motorcycle kept on the car and touched and killed. And I've seen a lot of different accidents that happen that very same way. So you add all of this extra housing and all the, because a lot of these families are going to be bringing kids. You got to put them in. They're going to be going to their school. You add that much more traffic to that situation that's already strained without a plan, and we're setting ourselves up for disaster.
Right, and that's what we're trying to work toward, is that master plan for the traffic. Because you're right, any more addition at all is going to be double bad.
It sounds like.
Yes, sir.
It sounds like the plan is to build this community and this apartment community and try and work on the rest of it while that happens. We need a comprehensive plan before any development happens, because we've got a 2-lane road. If you have to wait to turn, if you're going north and you have to wait to turn left into the high school, that backs up all the way down to the middle school.
Right.
If that light's red, I've seen the left turn lane into the high school backed up all the way to the next residence.
Well, and you're right. Ideally,
1,500 more cars for just this apartment community.
and ideally, to have a comprehensive plan that might have been done years ago would have been ideal. But here we are facing with this large estate that's being subdivided out into large several hundred acre tracts. And there are developers and realtors that are honing in on this. And so we are playing a little catch up. And it just happened that with the development on the northwest corner is moving faster than anything. And that's the subdivision. They're trying to break ground by the first of the year. And it's moving fast. So that's why we want to get everybody together and help get the word out. This is that whole quarter right there. That whole area is going to end up being developed. It's not just this one corner across where the proposed apartment complex is. And even if that never happened, even if they backed away from it, we've still got these other developments that one's already queued up.
We're not against that. I think we all just want a plan for how we're going to resolve the issue. And obviously none of us want low-income housing in our backyard.
Slides of it, I think.
Okay.
Let's show that, so
Shannon?
we see what.
Yes, sir.
Wouldn't, if you're looking for a quick fix on Wilson Road there, wouldn't the simple, fix be to widen the road to a 4-lane?
Yeah, that's one of the things we're going to look at, is to widen Happy Valley Road, look at roundabout options or red lights or some of both. And that's above our ability. That's why we've got to bring the experts in and have them start at Rossville Middle School, come all the way across, all the way probably to the city limits of Rossville.
But how do you
Look at that
allow
whole section.
development to begin before you do that? I mean, if we don't know what.
We cannot control the real estate sales.
But but
But
you
you
can
control
control
the
the
zone.
zoning and the
If you tell them we
permits.
do not have the infrastructure to support this kind of development in our community,
And then they turn around and say, okay, well, we're 2 years from completion.
Yeah,
You know,
but
then
you
they
of
can
all
pull.
people know, the water company, where are they gonna get their water from? Because it's definitely not
Are you
Walker
having a
County.
meeting on Thursday to discuss the rezoning at the Annex 3, this Thursday at 6? About, rezoning it to a plan?
I don't know if that's making my agenda or not. I've not seen the minutes and all from that meeting, but that's possible.
Okay, so I called the zoning commission, they said that you were having a meeting that was gonna be your call.
Yeah, our regular scheduled commissioners meeting is Thursday at 6 o'clock. And it's very possible
At Annex
that,
3.
at the Annex 3, that's correct, in
Thursday,
effect,
okay.
that they may have sent that over from planning for that
And my
vote.
second part question or statement is, if it's already a bad congested area, is there not anywhere else in the county that this apartment complex could go? Because we already addressed it, this, you've addressed it, the intersection's dangerous. Our neighborhood's, road is being driven through at high speeds. If it's already known that this is a congested area, this is not a safe area during school hours and school days, why would it even be a consideration? Is there not another option to move it somewhere else in Walker County and still get the revenue and still get the tax money? Because I know when it's zoned agricultural, it's cheaper on taxes, so not as much tax money is coming in. The owner, it's cheaper on the owner, not to pay as
Well,
much.
it's the development of the whole road. I know there's focus on the apartment or that one corner.
But if it's already
But
a
it's
vacant
the
intersection,
whole-
why is
the
it
whole
still
road.
on the table? Like is there not another location that is even an option that somebody can sell?
That's out of our control, because it's a free market.
The zoning's not, I know you can keep saying that it's, you could get sued, but, we don't, I think that you do have a big role in this, that you're kind of downplaying your role in it. Because I do feel like Marion kept that property for so many years and wanted to keep it that way, and for them to come in and say this is what she wanted, I don't agree with that. That was stated in the.
No, we didn't say that's what she
No,
wanted.
they
We're
were
saying
at the last meeting, it was,
that-
that's how it was presented, that Marion would have wanted it.
the
But Marion
executor,
held on to that.
the executor of the state has got to dispose of the property, and this is the pathway that they're
Now that she's
going.
passed, ironically.
Well, it's the executor of the state. He's been at my office.
Yeah, it's just convenient that she's passed and now, all of a sudden, we want to take this one piece of land and put a 150 unit complex. So that's kind of.
Yeah, let me go back over here to the back. Yes, ma'am.
So, I'm Karen Hughes, I'm the principal of Ridgeland. But thank you for having me here. But I think the struggle is, we know there's traffic. It's out of your hands what the executors to the Hutchinson Estate does or who they sell those plots of land to. So we're trying to get a plan for traffic. That's the purpose, right? So I have talked to the executor of that estate as well, because I have wishes and visions that Ridgeland had a little bit more room, but anyways, that's what we're getting to, is that you can't control, make sure I'm right, you can't control who buys what section.
That's
Is that
right.
broken
It's
up?
free market.
It's free market, and so whoever they sell it for, you gotta have a plan A. And whoever buys over across Mission Glen north of me, where that complex of 400 homes is, you don't have control over that.
That's
But you've got to do something about the roads and the traffic. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And will there be a plan in place before you approve the rezone?
That's what we're working on. That's what we're working on, is to try to put a plan together. And that's why I wanted to get y'all here together tonight, because many of y'all probably hadn't thought about this whole road getting developed. Both sides. Now, you talk about the corner where the proposed apartment complex is, but south of it, toward the middle school, all of that's for sale too, on both sides of the road.
Don't you
Yes,
still
ma'am.
have to
Elementary
rezone?
school on the other side of Happy Valley, so if we have apartments here and you've got all these homes, is it Saddle Ridge or Stone Creek or something?
Stone Creek Elementary.
How is that traffic gonna affect that side too, and what's gonna happen on that side of people?
Yeah, let's talk about Stone Creek there for a minute. We thought we had a good plan for Stone Creek, and we've been working with some of the leadership of the school system and was looking at a design, and this is why we didn't pave the other side of Happy Valley yet, because it's slated to be paved. We were working with the school system to acquire a little bit more right-of-way there to put a turn lane in. So when you're heading north on Happy Valley and you want to go to Stone Creek, we were going to put in a deceleration turn lane. I'm concerned now if that's enough. So that's why we want to have this whole corridor looked at. But I also wanted to find out tonight how the majority felt about some type of speed bumps into Overbrook once we get it paved as well. Yes, sir, in the back.
A question about, we moved here 4 months ago. We come from an area where there's sidewalks everywhere. And I don't understand why there's no sidewalks, why I have to drive my kid to Washington Middle School. And I have to go there several times a day, back and forth for practice, because kids drop off. I would think that would eliminate some traffic. You could have kids ride bicycles or walk.
Ms. Karen, you got people walking to high school now?
I do, and I have some bicycles.
So we got bicycles and walkers now, and that's something that needs to be done. And that was the thing when we were talking to the subdivision developer on the northwest corner. Their first thing they come in was talking about, was looking at, did not include sidewalks in their own subdivision. And we said, you gotta have sidewalks.
So middle school, they're saying your kids can't walk. You have to drive.
And that's definitely, when we go and start looking at this, and reinventing that corridor, sidewalks are a must. And probably, one thing that we did this year, at least I think we might have stopped about the high school, was additional street lighting. So when you go up Wilson Road, you go up Happy Valley heading north, in Glen Tana, there's street lighting. Yes, sir.
So, I get everyone's concern, and I was actually against the apartment complex development when it first announced they were going to do rezoning in the spring. But now all this other stuff is happening. I know a little bit about LIHTC. I've worked in finance, and I've done things with real estate development before. So LIHTC, I don't know if you know, but only a certain percentage of whatever the how many units there are would be what's classified as low income. So this is 156. I think it's 30% would be in that price range. They have to meet the income level has to be 50% whatever the average median income is. Teachers that are living alone will qualify for that. So you only have 30% of the units that would be classified as low income. The rest would be market rate. So the developers that's doing this, theirs are not typically big 3-story developments. They do, the last 2 LIHTCs I did were townhome style apartments, not.
Yeah, that's what these are. Let me pull that up.
So one more thing with this, it presents an opportunity for the community. So the parts that are not bought yet, it's still for sale. The state, in selling this, the executor's under a fiduciary responsibility to give the maximum value and pay the least amount of taxes. One way they can eliminate the tax burden that they're getting from selling these is by donating some of the remaining tracts of land, either to Ridgeland, to expand their size, or to do a community center right down towards the Ballsville middle area. That area has a tendency to flood on the back end, so it's less desirable for development, but it may be good for a park. It may be good for something like that. So that's something that you go to the executor, try to work something out, because they're going to have that tax liability anyways. It's better to donate some property that's going to be harder to sell than it would be to pay cash. So it prevents the opportunity is tremendous here. I just think that we need to learn more about LIHTC. So by zoning change does not commit us to what they're going to build. That's just the change that they are going to build something here. When it comes time for the next, for them to submit their master plan, that's another thing they have to have. Public hearings at the zoning commission, the planning commission, all of that's a process. So, and we can work with them on that, and they can actually be part of the paying for transportation improvements. If we do, people want sidewalks. There's a program called Safe Pathways to School. They'll pay for sidewalk improvements if the population is enough that it's actually people who don't walk to schools. They pay for sidewalks. For mission limits, things like how speed camera may be a better solution and cheaper. It doesn't cost anything for a speed camera. The company usually traffic day-to-day, as long as it's fixed. So there's options out there. I just think the defined option, you know, is a yes on that.
That's one thing, anytime you've got growth like this, then it makes grant opportunities available. And so when we talked to DOT, one of the things he started talking to me about, because of being in a depressed area, which all of Rossville is considered a depressed area economically, also that it's in front of one school, not only one school, but really 3 schools. Like he's talking about, there's programs that will help. We feel like we can get a lot of, if not most all of these road improvements, whether it be red lights, roundabouts, additional lanes, sidewalks, lighting, these type of things, paid for by grant dollars, and also getting money from the developers, as you indicated.
One more thing about the low-income housing, that's what we're going to call it. You're concerned about property values, so I get that too. You don't want to have that crime. So if you look at, the reason I was against it was because it was just going to be a low-income housing development right there. There's nothing else planned for anything around it. It's just going to kind of be an existing neighborhood. Well, the data shows with LIHTC, that program's been around for 30 years. So there's a lot of data on the effect it has on surrounding areas. And that shows that when they are placed in areas that all the surrounding zoning and all the surrounding development are higher income, that typically leads to people that come there that want to better themselves. They want to move up the economic ladder, not people that are stuck in there. And the property values, when it's placed in that situation, it doesn't lower the property values of the surrounding area. It's got to be placed where there's development going on that are the higher level income than what that.
And the additional of the retail is
Yes,
key, and that will help property values move forward too.
Yeah, it's a comprehensive. I wasn't against it if it was just going to be that apartment complex and nothing else. Because yeah, you're right. You would have crime. You would have the property values.
You'd have criminals out of Tennessee, fleeing from Tennessee into Georgia, to house.
Yeah, we've got that right now, don't we, Bruce? People coming across the Tennessee line to hide.
And now you give them a place to go, you know, I mean, and that being said, I want to.
Okay, hold on a second. Let's let this gentleman have the floor, and we'll get back around. Yes, sir.
You know, you talk about your traffic study, putting in a red light right there at Ridgeland High School. Right now, when school gets out and they go to the red light to a Happy Valley, well, traffic backs up, so they don't want to sit through the red light. They come through our neighborhood. I mean, it is terrible day in and day out, and you know, I don't see how a red light there is going to alleviate that problem.
Yeah, it's going to be more of a comprehensive, what Robert mentioned earlier, maybe first step, quick solution for just a development would be a red light to take some of the stress off. But we need a comprehensive plan. Okay, that's a good suggestion. I hadn't thought about that. So that's why we're having these. This is a great suggestion. Let me throw this out here. This is the first time I've heard this. I've never thought of this. But he's just throwing out an idea. We're just brainstorming here. How would those of you that live in Mission Glen feel about if the road was closed at Overbrook and Coran?
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
If you just close that off.
Yeah, because most of the traffic, I live right, if you come off of Moran, I live kind of at the bottom of that little hill, and I can sit on my front porch, and I will guarantee you, at least 10 to 15 cars, it's floorboarded straight down that hill. And it's not only just people passing through. I know there are residents that live there that do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir. All right, we've got another suggestion coming on the floor of a solution.
If you close that upper end off, people turning off of Highway 2 are gonna go up there, and they can't get through, they're gonna be making U-turns.
Well, that would happen a time or two.
If the subdivision got together and put a gate, an entry gate at both ways, that the neighborhood had the password.
The only thing is we would have to put together a HOA and fund it and maintain it and decide where would the city or the county still pave our road if we want.
Okay, all right, let me get control here, man. We got some good ideas and thoughts here. The gentleman just brainstorming here, okay? Nothing's in stone. He said, what if the subdivision got together pull dollars together and put in a gated type system where you'd have card access, or, you know, there's a lot of technology out there to do that, and gate off both ends of Overbrook, you're on the right path. Unfortunately, when you do that, and it can be done, the subdivision can do that, then it becomes a private development or private subdivision, and you can't use tax dollars to go in there and pave the roads.
Can you fix the water?
Well, the water is the water authority, so the water and sewer.
Can they fix that when we have problems so many times a year? If it's a private road and they can't pave it, that's one thing, but.
Oh yeah, if there's public utilities, even if it's a gated community, if there's public utilities, the service providers have to be able to get in, whether it be electric, water, sewer, cable, any of those type services would have to have access into the community. Yes, ma'am.
If you do the block off, there's no other place to get out of the neighborhood, so you significantly put signage, no through exit or no drive through or something, and make sure anybody that, before they turn in that neighborhood, can see, hey, it's blocked off, you can't come down here. That would.
Yeah, you definitely would put up signs that says no outlet, dead end. The other thing is, and I think we may have something here that's worth exploring. The other thing too we'd have to look at, if we blocked it off at core end, we would have to develop some type of turnaround. You know, you can't just block it, because then they're going to be in people's yards and their driveways. The houses go all the way to core end. Okay.
They told us that could not happen. We were told 25 years ago that they could not block that road off.
Okay, so what we're hearing here now is y'all were told 25 years ago core end could not be blocked. Do you remember why?
Bill was the one that told us. We had a community meeting.
They said something about ambulances have to have come through there.
Something about a road that connected road that couldn't happen. He told us that.
Sheriff, was that Sheriff Wilson you're speaking? Okay, well, I'll inquire about that. We'll just have to explore this. Yes, ma'am.
But it's,
I just have a question. I thought, I mean, 'cause this came up in my neighborhood where I live. We would have loved to have had a fence, gated area, but where they couldn't just come in, drive in, or whatever. Is it true that you can't do that unless it is in the beginning stages of the development itself? It has to be approved as a gated.
I think it could be done even after the fact. If the subdivision got an HOA and they could approach the local government to take the roads back over. But those roads would have to go and be deeded back to an HOA. And the HOA would have to be responsible for those roads forever going forward. So the question was, would we pave the road first? Hey, you never know. I mean, it's, you know, it's, you know, who's to say we could do that?
I added one more suggestion.
Yes, sir.
You know, as far as the barricade at the end of the road, you could do a road closure type barricade, drill holes in the road, put the post in there, and take them out as emergency personnel need be.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. You can put up steel gates and then have where emergency service people would have access. So if there was a house fire or emergency evacuation or tornado that come through and you needed that access, emergency services could get in. So you wouldn't make it permanent. There's a subdivision like this now on Peavine Road where one of their side entrances has been gated with a steel gate, probably because they had people trying to cut through. So what we're talking about here is not that uncommon. It may be a workable solution. And I'll check with the sheriff and people smarter than us to figure out if we can do that legally and make sure, you know, we can report back and see if that's a valid option, and then reach out to all of the property owners and see if that's something that people would want to consider. Yes, ma'am.
In this study, do you know why, by chance, recently they've been out there surveying the end of Valley Breeze around the wood? Yeah, they were in my yard when they were my section.
Do you know anything about any survey work going on?
Well, they would.
You talk to them? Did they tell you anything?
They were trying to make sure everything lined up, so the developers would be on the backside.
Okay, so there's the backside of,
Our property was,
Okay.
And just find out who we can know that, and we didn't know who or what,
So they were just trying to make sure they had their starting points and their accurate stuff. Okay, this lady has the floor. If we could get everybody to listen, please.
Is the water company and all the telephone poles and all the infrastructure, is that in place to handle all those people in the water? Right now, we have water problems that are really older and they're 35 years. And every time there's pressure, it seems like when they build new houses, they're going to feel the pressure causes their pipes to burst. You know, the water company is trying to set
All right, let me change hats a minute if y'all will allow me to, and let's talk about water and sewer. Because by default, I'm the chairman of the Walker County Water and Sewer Authority. Don't tell anybody. We've been working on some master planning for our water and sewer, because sewer is a big problem. Because Moccasin Bend Treatment Plant has not had the investments made into that facility like they should have years ago. And there's been multiple times during floods and high rain that they literally were dumping sewer waste into the Tennessee River. It's been well documented. The EPA came in a few years ago and put a consent order on the city of Chattanooga for the Moccasin Bend Treatment Plant. And they said, you got to fix these systems. So one of the things that all of us are dealing with is that is a regional facility. So sewer from Hamilton County, from Lookout Mountain, Ringo, Fort Oglethorpe, East Ridge, Ooltewah, all these areas, North Georgia, northwest Georgia, Walker County, all flows into that facility. Well, all of us have major, what they call I&I, infiltration when it rains. So under the old contract that the authority had with Moccasin Bend, City of Chattanooga, the water authority paid off of what was of gallons sold. So they would, at the water department every month, they would send a report to Chattanooga and say, here's how many gallons we sold. Chattanooga would bill on a per gallon basis. It was somewhere around, if memory serves me right, around 15 million gallons a month was being sold, and that's what we were being billed. When the new contract was signed by the previous administration, they really didn't vet it out good or even attempt to negotiate it, it doesn't appear. The Walker County Water and Sewer Authority's contract going forward to Moccasin Bend based off of total flow. So that means all this infiltration, all this I&I going into the system, they've now installed meters at the Tennessee line, and they're counting those gallons. So we're selling about 15 million gallons of fresh water. When we have heavy rains, we're being billed for over 100 million gallons. So we went from sending Chattanooga $50,000, $60,000 a month to sending them $250,000 a month. So we started immediately trying to figure out how to fix a lot of the infiltration. And you might have seen back over the last couple of years where we were slip lining a lot of the sewer trunk lines because the system's aging, roots, settling, earthquakes, all these things will move that infrastructure or crack that infrastructure. So we spent about $1 million, invested $1 million slip lining this. And slip lining is a pretty neat, because basically you're injecting molding into the existing water or sewer mains, and it forms a seal, and you're just basically sleeving your sewer system to keep that infiltration out. It has helped, it's made a difference, but we're still fighting that. So we started looking at alternatives. How do we deal with this? Plus, when the developer was trying to develop the subdivision just right outside of St. Elmo at the Tennessee line where those gas tanks are, that subdivision is called Idle Rock, thank you. They went round and round and round trying to get the city of Chattanooga to sign off on the approval because of the additional sewer that was going to go to to Chattanooga. So one of the problems that we have from a development standpoint on all of the northern part of Walker County, including the city of Rossville, their sewer goes north, and all of this area that y'all live in, is if we don't have affordable, reliable, permittable sewer growth, then there will be zero growth because the city will cut us off. So what we are working on, we have already started moving forward on, is to build a pipeline, basically, a sewer pipeline that will come from Chattanooga Valley over on the old 193, come over the hill, come up past Ridgeland, go past Tads, go up the hill, cut through Fairview, and take all that sewer waste that's being generated in the north end of the county and divert it and pump it back to the Chickamauga treatment facility that is owned by the Walker County Water and Sewer Authority. So that way we will have the availability for the growth, we'll be able to control our destiny, because right now we're at the mercy of Chattanooga. If they cut everybody off and say we can't take any more volume, we're just stuck. And so the developer of that Idle Rock delayed them for months before Chattanooga would ever sign off on the permitting. And there's other places in Chattanooga, I understand, that have had delays or been held up or been told no because of sewer. So we're working on that. We've already made one property acquisition on White Road and let's see, that's not Mission Ridge Road. It's right there at the edge of the park on McFarland Gap Road. McFarland Gap Road and White Road. The Water Authority has purchased a piece of property to put a pump station, which was the ideal spot, which was the lowest spot, so we can have a pump station to divert this sewer waste back to Chickamauga. The other thing is our water. Y'all remember July 2017, we was under a boiled water advisory because our main well come under the influence of E. coli. So we had to go under a boiled water advisory until we could get the filter trailers put in place. So we've been working on that master plan and got that just about ready to start, where we would take and build the inner workings of our water treatment facility that would allow us to have substantial growth. Right now we're producing, I think system-wide, with our 3 different well setups, I think we're around 6 million gallons of production per day. This would basically double that, to give us double that growth of water production. So there's a lot of things going on there to be able, because if you don't have the utilities, you're not going to grow. And if we don't work on trying to work together and put these master plans together, you're going to see the north end of the county continue to do this in the Rossville area because there's no new development. And people are going to be aging out, dying off, selling those mill houses as more rental property, and it's going to get worse instead of better. So that's why we've been working, trying to make all these things happen. I know it's been a slow process, but the water and sewer, you're looking at, both of those is, I think it's about a $12 million project to do that. And the sewer is probably going to happen probably first, because
But if the condition it is now to support 150 unit complex.
yeah, because we'll have this pipeline in place where we can take the additional volume for the subdivision that's going to happen, if nothing else. So there's a lot going on. It's been building for the last 3 years, but it's not being ignored. But what's happened over the past years, they kept the rates artificially low, thinking they were doing good, because if you're not ever having to raise rates, you get reelected. And so they kept getting reelected, and they ignored the infrastructure. And so yeah, we had incredibly cheap water, but the infrastructure was falling apart. And so now we're playing catch up. When you're playing catch up, everything's always more expensive when you're playing catch up. So that's what's going on at the Water and Sewer Authority. So we feel like we're sustainable with our rates, with our water and sewer rates. It's fairly competitive to areas with like circumstances, but people have asked me, will we ever see lower water and sewer prices? I don't think so, because you've got inflation, nothing else. So I don't think you'll ever see lower rates. Our goal is just to try to maintain where we are, where we've got enough revenue coming in to reinvest in the system, because the system's public owned. The system is yours. It's Walker County Water and Sewer Authority that is owned by the people in the community. So it's not a for-profit. We're not taking profit and sending it to shareholders or anything like that. Like Tennessee American Water is a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange. They are a for-profit business. Tennessee American Water, which services the city of Ross, is one example, and the city of Lookout Mountain. But there are 9 water systems in Walker County currently. We're fixing to have to add the 10th one. There is a section up on Lookout Mountain on the south end that's above McLemore Cove, where there's probably about 70 houses that are full-time residents that are all on wells. They have no public water. They're all on wells. And they're having problems with their wells. So they've come to us and petitioned us to allow, brace yourself, for Fort Payne, Alabama water system to supply their water. Because they own Menlo Water. They have an interconnection for emergencies to Dade County, and they also sell water to Chattooga County. So we're going to give Fort Payne, Alabama Water permission to come in and do business into Walker County to service that outlining area that would cost us several $1 million to even get water to, that mathematically doesn't make sense. And if we tried to do that, we would have to spread that investment over all of you ratepayers. And it would inflate everybody's price. Where if we give Fort Payne Water the authority to come in to the marketplace to be the 10th provider, then we have no investment and it doesn't affect your rates at all, and those homeowners can get affordable public water.
Do they get that with little LMI grants?
I don't think they're going to do grants. They're going to do a $2,000 tap fee and finance that for people over 12 months if they need it. And then their water rate's going to be, I think, $6.50 a thousand, which is more than y'all are paying today. But these people, some of them are getting pretty in dire straits with their wells.
Is that community that's eligible to get that grant if they wanted to?
Well, with Fort Payne Water System willing to put in the infrastructure and put in the meters for $2,000 a hookup, they can move now and get it done, where a grant is probably going to be a year plus. And so the residents want to get moving. Yeah, okay, we get back on this. Yes, sir.
Okay, he wanted to tell you what he would like to see on the commercial.
A Georgia State Trooper Police Station.
A state trooper police station on the north end, or a Chick-fil-A. Me and you have a lot in common.
I think it could control the street.
Yes, ma'am.
Another question. So all this goes through, we have the apartments, but in front of them, we have retail or whatever.
Yes.
How are those people in the apartments, are they going out on the Happy Valley Road, is that going to be their street?
Yes.
They're not
They can't
going
go
to
on
have
2A.
They can't go in. They can't go on 2A.
Yeah, but are you planning to cut roads into Overbrook from back there, or?
No, they would not be coming through Overbrook or coming through Mission Glen at all.
Is there any other option than an apartment complex? Is there any other option?
That's up to the realtor.
I mean, now.
What the realtor, he buys it.
You keep putting it back on the realtor.
It is.
It's zoned
So your
It's a free
intentions are
market.
your intentions are to rezone it so that this developer can do what they want to do.
We are looking at all the options and wanted to have public communication. We put it on table to
So
find out what the
obviously,
solutions are.
Obviously, we're the public that is immediately affected, and we're all against it. So, is it still your intentions to rezone it for this developer to do what they want to do? Because if the case, then we're at 7:30 and we're wasting our time.
No, we are not wasting your time. I think Robert wanted to go through these slides here. Let me give you the mic.
Yeah, I did want to, I got some information I wanted you to see about the apartments, some facts. Well, I was going to show
It
you.
was still a three-story complex from the last meeting. We saw it.
But it is getting late, and I mean, we'll stay here as long as you want to, but I did want you to see these.
Right, but if we're just wasting our breath expressing our concerns, then.
I think we're all,
I mean, I think on Thursday, the meeting's gonna be him proposing the rezoning.
And it's
Show of
gonna,
hands, who wants the apartments?
This is where you want to start?
Is
yeah.
there a keeping call, French keeping call law in Walker County? Because that's what I'm gonna have. I would keep time. My back property will back up right to those apartments.
I
So
didn't hear
they're
the
gonna be able to
question.
go to the third floor and just look straight in my back door.
I didn't hear your first word.
My building and my home will back up to the apartments. So they're going on the third floor, they're gonna be able to look right into my home.
Yeah, I live on Rock Road, this is in my backyard.
Yeah, it's my back, up.
I mean, that's the same thing we saw the last meeting, so it never left the table. The listing expired, they still had access to the listing, because it never got relisted to be another option for another buyer.
Well, we've got this because we know if everybody has seen this or not. Was everybody at that planning meeting? Everybody was there?
The only people
No?
that
Okay.
that were there were the people that were within 300 feet.
Okay, so then we probably need to go through this.
Yeah, I just wanted to share the facts of it, just so you'll know, it's not an attempt to change your mind about how you feel about it, but I want you to know facts instead of what you might imagine or might hear. 156 units, 1, 2, and 3. Clubhouse, fitness inside the room, pool and offices, maximum building height of 40 feet. It's interesting to know that the investment agreement requires the developers of this type of project to retain for 15 years minimum. And I think that matters. It does to me a little bit that they can't just build them out and then everything changed ownership-wise. All residents must pass rigorous credit and criminal background checks and accommodates workforce residents with incomes up to $47,000 a year. And there are no rent subsidies at all. And I think that's worth knowing there. If they can't pay their rent, then they don't get to stay there. It's a $15 to $20 million capital investment. Estimated $500,000 in sales tax revenue from the construction. Now, this doesn't take into account any retail that follows these developments. Okay, I'm not talking about what might happen afterwards as far as bringing in retailers. $100,000 a year in annual property taxes to the county. And it says there 150 to 200 direct and indirect jobs during construction. That's temporary. I mean, it's great to have that, but that doesn't stay. Here's just some facts about the company themselves. Go ahead, Shannon. I want to get to the other projects that they've done that you might want to see what they look like. This is the one in Rome. That Highland Estates in Rome, and I think there's another one in Griffin or somewhere. There's the recent one, Tranquility.
That's gonna be my backyard right there.
That's what I'm gonna see.
Beautiful three-story apartment.
Let's put it in your backyard.
So, that's all, if it's rezoned, because that doesn't commit them to the plans, right? To the plan of whatever they.
Can you tell us when it's gotta be rezoned, so we can all be
That will be on the agenda at one of the commissioner meetings.
This Thursday at 6 o'clock.
I don't know which one it'll be because taking into consideration.
I was told by the zoning
It'll be on the agenda that'll be posted on the website, on our Facebook page, like always. Every meeting is posted and the agenda is posted.
No, the property's not been rezoned.